6 years ago, Barbara Harris and her husband decided to become foster parents. The first call they got was for a little girl named Destiny.
I had asked for an infant, but when they called and said, we have a little girl, she's 8 months old, is that too old? I was so anxious. I said, no, that's fine. She'll do just fine. So she was our first.
4 months later, there was another call from Orange County Social Services. The same mother had given birth to another baby. Like Destiny, he too was born addicted to drugs.
And we decided to get him, and then we picked him up at the hospital.
There would be 2 more calls, 2 more children by the same mother in the same terrible situation. So Taylor and then Terrell joined the family. Altogether, the mother had given birth to 8 children.
It just hurt me so bad to think that somebody would just keep giving birth to babies that are drug addicted that they don't want.
The explanations are not easy, not even for someone like Anise Evans. She's given birth to 7 children and is pregnant with her 8th. She's had 1 child every 2 years since she was 18. Most of the time, Evans was on drugs, so the county put all but one of her kids in foster care.
I was in my addiction. They didn't, they felt I wasn't a responsible parent, whatever, which they were right at the time. I wasn't. So, they would take the kid, and I would have another one and replace for the other one. It's like it was just a pattern, just kept going.
It was a lot of depression, and then I was all alone, too.
Anita Williams is pregnant with her 6th child. Her last 2 were born drug addicted.
I kept having kids because I wanted kids, and then, I don't know, because my mother and father is passed. Everybody was gone then, and it was just me, like me against the world.
Both women are now in a residential drug treatment program at the Mandela House in East Oakland. Mothers are able to live here up to a year with their babies. They take classes in parenting and academics. It is only now that they can see their destructive past.
I was very non-caring. I was totally neglectful of my children. I'm not even realizing at the time. You know what I mean? It just overpowers your whole mind. You think of nothing but the drug. It's awful. It's real sick.
Then there's this vicious cycle. Some women turn to prostitution to support their drug habit, and they get more money if they don't use condoms.
A lot of them had to do all kinds of things for the drugs, and while you're using, you keep saying, I'm going to have the abortion, or I'm going to get rid of it, and you get high every time, and finally, here we are. We're having a baby now.
So what are the effects of drugs on newborns? Well, doctors do see the problems in the first weeks of life. The babies often shake, they're irritable, and they have trouble sleeping and eating. But it turns out that once they get through this period of withdrawal, most babies do tend to develop normally.
In fact, the majority of the kids do very well.
Dr. Donna Ferrero has worked with drug-addicted babies since 1985.
We're not dealing with producing a whole generation of handicapped children. And unfortunately, 10 years ago, there was this big thing, crack kids bad. Might as well just dispose of them now. They're going to do so poorly. We're not seeing that.
In fact, Destiny Harris is one of the top students in her 1st grade class. After a rocky start, it turned out what she really needed was a stable home.
She was delayed when we first got her, and I thought it was because of the drug abuse, but it was actually because she wasn't getting what she needed. So these kids can, in some cases, overcome the prenatal neglect if they could only get into the right home from the very beginning.
But Harris wants to stop women from having multiple babies who, after all, do have to go through a very painful withdrawal period and have very little chance of ever growing up in a loving home.
So she convinced a local assemblyman to write a bill that would make prenatal child neglect a crime. Under the bill, any mother who gives birth to a child who tests positive for drugs will be sent to jail. Or she has the option of getting herself into a drug treatment program.
What we want to do is sort of have a hammer over their head, say, don't do this while you're pregnant.
If a woman could stop using because she's pregnant, she could stop using. It's not about that. It's not about that.